Hello and welcome. When reading or listening to Eckhart Tolle, one may get the impression that he is living in a more or less constant state of equilibrium and that this is what his teachings are pointing to. Therefore, it can be interesting to know what he has to say about more energized emotional states, and also that the inner peace he describes, which, according to Tolle, is the destination that we're all eventually heading towards, does not have to manifest outwardly in a particular manner. We will still experience these higher emotions. We may still feel like engaging in the world in different manners. In fact, we will still experience negative emotions as well, just that they will come and go without us holding on to them, keeping them alive in our minds. Enthusiasm, as discussed in the works of Eckhart Tolle, represents a state of being that transcends ordinary excitement or motivation. It arises not from the ego, but from an alignment with the deeper essence of who we are. Tolle explores this concept across his writings, including The Power of Now and A New Earth, emphasizing its connection to presence, purpose, and joy. The word enthusiasm originates from the Greek term enthusiasmos, rooted in entheos, meaning possessed by a god or inspired. En translates to within, and theos refers to God. In ancient Greece, enthusiasm described a state of divine inspiration, often linked to creative or prophetic expressions thought to be guided by a higher power. Over time, the term evolved in usage, shedding its strictly spiritual connotations to describe intense interest, passion, or excitement. Despite its transformation, the etymology of enthusiasm reflects its origins as a profound connection to something greater. Tolle describes how enthusiasm is intrinsically tied to the present moment, which he, interestingly enough, says is where we find our connection with God, even if he's hesitant about using this word because of its many connotations. He suggests that when we are fully present, we transcend the mental noise of doubts, fears, and ego-driven desires. In this state, our actions naturally align with a sense of flow and inner stillness. When you're enthusiastic, you feel connected to the flow of life, and your actions seem to happen effortlessly, fueled by positive energy. This alignment allows enthusiasm to emerge, not as a forced effort, but as a spontaneous expression of being. Enthusiasm, in this sense, is free of anxiety about outcomes and is not dependent on external validation. It is a pure and joyful participation in life. It's a state of willingness where we truly feel that we want to engage with the present moment and whatever is in front of us, and pure enthusiasm makes us forget about our desired outcomes. Tolle contrasts enthusiasm with egoic ambition. When ego-driven, our actions often become tinged with stress, struggle, specific demands on life, or a need to prove ourselves. Such a driving force is fragile and prone to collapse when external conditions change or when the desired result fails to materialize. Enthusiasm, on the other hand, comes from a deeper place. It connects us with a sense of universal creativity and purpose, allowing us to engage in tasks with joy and without attachment to success or failure. Enthusiasm, which combines enjoyment of the present with a larger vision, acts as a powerful conduit for creativity. This state allows energy to flow freely from the unmanifested into form, without stress or attachment, leading to creative outcomes that resonate deeply and authentically. If we pause to reflect on this perspective, it suggests a profound shift in how we understand creativity and the nature of artistic or intellectual genius. Creativity, as seen through this lens, is not a product of the individual's intellect, effort, or identity. Instead, it emerges from a state of connection to something greater, a universal source of inspiration that transcends personal ego or ambition. The creator becomes a vessel or conduit, allowing this energy to flow into the world through their work. This idea reframes the role of the creator. It becomes about entering a state of openness and presence where inspiration can naturally arise. In such a state, the ego, with its desires, fears, and need for validation, steps aside, making space for a deeper, unforced expression to emerge. This means the work is less a reflection of the creator's personality or achievements and more an embodiment of timeless qualities, truth, beauty, and essence. The implication here is that the quality of the work is intrinsically tied to the state of consciousness from which it is created. When the creator operates from a place of surrender and stillness, unclouded by the ego's noise, the work becomes imbued with a sense of authenticity and resonance that goes beyond personal influence. Such works have a universal appeal because they reflect something fundamental about existence, something that speaks to the deeper layers of all who encounter them. This also suggests that originality, often revered as a hallmark of genius, does not originate in the isolated mind of the creator. Instead, unique, enthusiasm-fueled creativity flows from a connection to a collective or universal consciousness, a source that is always present but accessible only when the creator steps out of the way. When this connection is made, the resulting work often feels as though it carries a divine spark, a quality that touches and moves others in profound ways. In other words, this understanding redefines genius not as an extraordinary personal attribute, but as a state of receptivity and alignment. What sets apart those we call geniuses is not necessarily their technical skill or intellectual capacity, though these may play a role. Rather, it's their ability to surrender to this creative flow, to trust it, and to express it without resistance or distortion. Their greatness lies not in their possession of creativity, but in their willingness to let it move through them unimpeded. This perspective also challenges the traditional notions of ownership and pride in creative works. If the most profound creations arise from a state of egoless surrender, then claiming them as personal achievements seems incongruous. Instead, the creator becomes a participant in a larger process, one that is shared and universal. This fosters humility and a sense of gratitude for being part of something greater, rather than a need to claim credit. This means that which is truly beautiful and unique in a work of art is impersonal, which should be both encouraging and humbling for anyone working within an artistic field. Understanding creativity in this way also offers practical guidance for those seeking to create. It encourages focusing less on results or techniques and more on cultivating the right inner state. Practices such as mindfulness, presence, and surrender become not just spiritual exercises, but also pathways to deeper creative expression. By aligning with this state, one can access a flow of inspiration that feels effortless, free from the strain and struggle often associated with creative work. This is of course not to say that all great artists are without ego, as history is showing that this certainly is not the case. However, it may show that even those with great egos have to be able to set their egos aside while they are creating for truly inspired works to come about. Tolle expands on the idea of enthusiasm by framing it as one of three states of awakened doing: acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. Acceptance is the foundational state where we do what is necessary without resistance, even if the task is mundane or challenging. Enjoyment arises when we find joy in the activity itself, transforming our experience of it. Enthusiasm, however, represents a heightened state where the activity is infused with a sense of purpose. It bridges the personal and the universal, allowing us to feel that our actions are part of a larger whole. This state of enthusiasm involves surrendering to the present moment while simultaneously being energized by an intention that feels aligned with life's greater flow. It's not a frenetic or anxious energy, but rather a grounded, calm vitality. You should feel energized, though, as you are connected to an infinite energy source when you're enthusiastic. If that word doesn't have too negative connotations, you can call this source God, but labels aren't important. Tolle also emphasizes that true enthusiasm is not about achieving or striving for something, but about being present in the activity itself, fully engaged and alive. This can be something of a balancing act. as a more frenetic energy easily comes into the enthusiasm, or this type of energy simply is mistaken for enthusiasm. Be observant of whether the feeling is driven by a desire for a certain outcome, or if it seems to be pushing you toward making rash decisions. When we attach our sense of self-worth to outcomes, or allow egoic desires to dominate, we lose the purity of enthusiasm. This shift can lead to burnout, disappointment, or even resentment when reality doesn't meet our expectations. Something that is very common is that we make a decision involving money, fueled by the desire for a certain outcome, just to get disappointed by the outcome, while being stuck with a heavier financial burden than we expected. As you get more acquainted with your inner energetic state, you will be able to more consciously direct your energy, which in turn will shape how you interact with your experiences. To do so, you only need to direct more focus inwardly, for example, through feeling the inner body, another key concept in Tolle's teachings. We have a whole video on it, and there will be a link to it in the description. Other ways of counteracting these tendencies is the cultivation of a sense of detachment and trust, allowing enthusiasm to guide actions without becoming enslaved by the need for results. Again, it is about cultivating a feeling of enjoyment of the activity in the present moment. Most people do things the other way around. They project themselves into an imagined future where their desires are fulfilled, while just trying to get the present moment over with as quickly as possible. It's not always easy to spot these tendencies in oneself either. We can often tell ourselves that we are present and enjoying the present moment. However, this may very well just be another part of the mental chatter, while we, in reality, are totally preoccupied with the imaginary future where we have everything that is going to make us feel happy and fulfilled. So, again, learn to observe yourself, your mind, and your energies. Another significant aspect of enthusiasm in Tolle's teachings is its contagious nature. When one operates from a place of authentic enthusiasm, it can inspire and uplift those around one. This ripple effect is not caused by deliberate efforts to influence others, but simply by being authentically present and aligned. Tolle sees this as a form of service to the collective consciousness, helping to raise the vibrational energy of those we encounter. This is an interesting point. According to Tolle, our inner state, whether positive or negative, doesn't just influence us and those in our direct vicinity, but spills out into the whole collective of humanity. In summary, enthusiasm in Eckhart Tolle's teachings is a state of joyful alignment with the present moment and with life's unfolding purpose. It is free from egoic interference, not dependent on external success, and deeply rooted in presence. By embracing this form of enthusiasm, we not only transform our experience of life, but also contribute positively to the energy of those around us. The spiritual underpinning of enthusiasm, as Tolle describes, is a sense of unity with life. It's an unmistakable sign that you're in contact with infinite consciousness, and therefore also your intuition. This is important, as intuition is what you will have to rely on more and more as you're waking up. Be careful though, as the mind has a tendency to take over what the intuition says and turn them into something they're not. Therefore, it's important to get acquainted with the ego and how to discern its desires from what is truly inspired actions. We've talked about this in this video, where you learn to recognize the energy behind what drives you, but we also have a whole video on the ego, and there will be more from different perspectives in the future. There will be a link at the end screen in just a moment. When we are aligned with our inner purpose, our being, and our outer purpose, our doing, we access a deeper dimension of life. Enthusiasm becomes a natural outflow of this alignment. It no longer feels like something we need to manufacture or sustain. Instead, it flows effortlessly as a manifestation of being in harmony with the present moment. Finally, it is important to get to know your inner life so that you can determine if what you're feeling is truly enthusiasm or if what you're really feeling is a desire for a certain outcome. Something to look out for is whether you're truly doing all you can with what you've got so that you're truly making the most out of the present moment. Contrast this with if you're piling new things, such as new software or equipment, onto what you already have, hoping that they will help you reach your goal, or if you're simply dreaming of when things are different so you can start living. If you're observant, you can see that all of this is about living in the present moment. Enthusiasm is hampered by the wish for the present moment to be something other than what it is. When you're living from the present moment, it is also much easier to direct your focus, which means that it's both easier to find things to be enthusiastic about and to recognize the feeling when it arrives. You've now reached the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for your time.